here. I'm just trying to find an image in our DXF clip art real quick that we can use for a good example here. Because there's a few things that we can do differently to get a little different results and really kind of spruce up the.
Yes, sir. Did you press on use telephone?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that'll.
So we are going to use the mic and speaker, or we use the phone number?
Use the telephone.
So should we keep use mic and speaker on?
No, have it on selection of use telephone. That's what it should be. I mean, you can probably use the mic and speaker. We should use telephone to record the audio, but it sounds like it's given really bad reverb there.
Okay, yeah, because I'm both of them. I'm speaking here and it's listening to me and it's bringing back this, so it's making a lot of resonance.
Yeah, that's fine. You can leave it on the use mic and speakers, and we'll if we need to.
Okay, no problem. It's just getting selected by itself. I don't know why.
Well, let's see here. There's a lot of images in this thing, so I'm just trying to find one that we can use and utilize some different things here. I may just use the same image and we can do some other things with it. Let's see here. Okay. Now I'm going to change to my side here so you can see my screen. Okay. You should have a little window up to see my screen now. Are you there? Well, I see that it's muted, so I'm assuming you guys are there. I can't really tell, but let's. I'm going to use this image here. Now, one thing that we can do, I'm going to add a couple of little geometries here.
I'm right here. I believe that you pressed on mute me.
No, I didn't actually. I'm not sure why it muted automatically. And my mouse is jumping around again here. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right. So I'm going to add a couple of geometries here. Just something small. We can do a spline. Just to have something. Now, what I'm going to do with this is actually use it as a custom emboss. So if we go into emboss model, and let's create our stock here. Let's say this is 8 by 12 or so. So that fills our whole image there. I'm going to go in here and go to emboss model, and we're actually going to do an emboss regular. Now there was a selection here for custom. When you do a custom embossment, you can actually go in and add your own geometry to it. So we'll just hit OK. We'll leave it on the little default settings here. Click OK. So we're going to pick our geometry. And we may need to, let's close some of this up here. We need to close up that and close up this because I just want to do this outside. So we're going to do a line join and just join a couple of these. Just to close that off so we can pick just that little chain.
Mm-hmm.
So go back into our BobART tab here and reselect our geometry. We'll select this outside. And the inside looks like it's going to pick everything. So let's go ahead and, if we pick this edge here, and then come down here and hold shift and pick that one, it'll pick all the way around. It's just picking that section, and then we can just pick these two little lines that we added. So now we verified that's our geometry, and we're going to pick our cross-section geometry, which is this spline that I created. Let's see what this comes up with. Now, it's a little small, so it's just coming up with one loop. If this was a larger image, like if we took a square 8 by 12, and we'll put this in the bottom left there. We'll offset another one and we'll reduce this down by 2 inches, so we'll say it's 6 by 10. We can go in here and add kind of the same thing to this outside. And we'll get a different type of embossment here.
So we cannot change the scale of the cross section. We need to draw the cross section up to scale, like the dimension of the drawing that it will be applied to.
There is a scale factor, so we can do a scale factor of, let's do a quarter. And click OK. And now if we regenerate that, it's still, the scale of that really didn't help very much. And I think because it's just so narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we can get in here to, let's get a real small scale here. That does not look very good.
I believe you need to change the Z factor scale because it's a little bit higher than the width. And
so let's do this one a little larger. So if we change that scale, we do get our geometry there. It's a little hard to tell because it is very small, but we do get that. And that's why I was trying to make the larger geometry so we can see exactly what it looks like. So we'll pick our geometry for the outside, and then we'll pick our cross-section as this, and regenerate that. And that one did the same thing, so let's go in there and change the scale. Let's reduce that by half. So yeah, that did a little bit, and we get these corners that are kind of funky there. But we can actually do, instead of doing an emboss regular on something like that, because we're getting these little corners that are actually acting kind of funny, let's go ahead and delete that one. And let's do this 2-rail sweep. So the 2-rail sweep, we're going to be using 2 geometries as our outside, which is just we're just going to use default settings. We can go back in here and modify if we need to. We will change the scale, though. We'll just reduce that in half. So we're picking our first rail is the outside. Our second rail is the inside. Oops. Now, when you're doing these, if you notice, there is a direction on these. You got to make sure those are facing the same way. If they're not, it'll twist your geometries around, just like you would with working with a solid face. When you're doing skinning or anything like that, direction matters on this one. So we're going to pick our cross-section geometry, and then we'll regenerate. So that gives us a little bit of a different result. Now, we can actually clean these corners up by going in here and editing this. So we can sync the rail nodes here. We can, let's see here. Local smooth will generally keep on. And let's just run that and see what we get. So that cleans up those corners. So that gives us a nice little frame that you can have around your embossment. You know, just by adding a couple geometries and doing a little cross section here, you can really modify your part. You can even add more cross sections. So if we added, let's sketch an arc here that's 1/4 inch and started at 180. Actually, started 0 to 180. Just plop that down on the screen there. We can even add that as a cross section. So if we right click anywhere in here, we get to add new cross section geometry. So we can apply more cross sections to it. Now that one kind of came out funky there. It came out really funky there. See what we can do to clean that one up. We can change the location of this one specifically. So we can do like a 50%. Which it's already doing apparently. Do a subtraction on that. That didn't come out very well either. But it did put that in there at 50%. So it's still getting a little bit of that other geometry in there, but not much. So this other cross section is not working out very well. We can even go in and remove that one, remove this one, and change which one we're using to get a different type of cross section. Let's go in and edit this and do a add. Now, if you notice, we have this kind of slope in between. It's actually a setting in here. If we uncheck the scale on there and then regenerate it, it should go across the whole part evenly. So it turned off the scaling on there. Well, let's see if adding this geometry as a secondary will give us something useful here. Not really. There's some cases where you can add multiple cross sections and it come out really nice. This just doesn't happen to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just delete that one. Yeah, we'll reselect this one as this other.
So the multiple cross section is a kind of multiplication of the different cross section, or it's using one for a while and then using the different one for the rest of the.
The cross section is kind of like you can make framing, you can do all sorts of interesting stuff with the cross sections. We can even go in here and. One thing that somebody was actually just showing me this morning is a neat little thing that I had never even thought about doing. Now that we have this frame on here, and if we did an emboss regular on everything else on the inside, so let's go ahead and remove this cross-section geometry. We'll edit this. We'll just do an add. Just make it a simple embossment to a small convex ellipse. Just on that inside. It's pretty small. We have that scale factor still on there, so let's get rid of that. So we have a little embossment there, and we can add embossment on the inside. Let's go ahead and do that. Emboss regular, and let's do a convex arc. And we'll pick everything on the inside here. So let's hit E on the keyboard to get rid of all the geometry, all the embossment there, and we can select all this. Deselect this guy here. And again, it's just like the selection where you can hold shift and pick the end of the line. You know, pick the two ends, you click one end and then hold shift click on the other end and it'll do that. Deselect an area. And we'll pick all these guys in the center. And we'll add these in here just to bring back our embossment. So now we have something there that we can, you know, we could cut this out. Now another thing that we can do is if we go up and add an emboss regular, and I'm going to make just a big, huge radius on here. Let's make it a 3-inch radius. And we'll click OK. And I'm going to just sketch a line down the center of this part. Right about here. Lock it in horizontal and vertical. So now on this embossment, we can add this geometry to that. And it's similar to adding it to a solid. So if we regenerate this, that did not come out. Why did that not come out? That should have put it on a big giant arc here. Do a sweep. So we'll do an embossed sweep on that and try that. There we go. So now that can put it across a whole kind of a three-dimensional, almost like a rotary part that you can machine out. Now we can also go in and modify that radius on there, make that like a 4-inch radius. See if we can include the rest of it. And that included the rest of it. And now you'd be able to machine that out on a part, you know, as a 3-axis toolpath. You guys have any questions or?
No, we are good.
Okay. So, I mean, is this the kind of stuff you guys are looking to do? I mean, I know that we were trying to get the files from you to see, you know, a little bit more of the examples of what you guys are doing. Is this more along the lines of what you guys are looking for, or?
Yeah, this is the simplest of them. I don't know if you were able to access the link that I sent to you yesterday, or.
I did. I took a look at that today, and the files that are in there, I won't be able to open, but I did take a look. Yeah, I see the types of images and things like that. I mean, we can. Let's see here. Like we can, there's a star in here. Let's go ahead and open up a new window. There's one of the drawings in here that we may be able to utilize some of the stuff that we have new to 27 to do. So we have this shape library now where you can modify shapes that we have. Let's make this 4-inch. That looks about right. Yeah, that should be fine. We can OK that. We can go up to this emboss model, create our stock, and that just fills that area. Now we can add a couple of lines just to cut across so that we can get some more depth out of this. So we're going to emboss regular, and we'll do a line. And let's make it a little smaller. Actually, it can be a 1/4 inch height, but let's make the slope angle a little less. Let's do about 35 degrees. And we'll do an add. Click OK. So the geometry we'll pick, well, we may need to add a couple more lines and break some of this up. So we'll add another line in between these. And we can do a break. Make sure all these are broken around. Okay, so now we have a bunch of sections that we can actually emboss separately. So we can reselect our geometry. We can even pick just this little area to emboss. And when we regenerate that, we get a little small section of the star. Now, we can go in there and do kind of the same thing. We can add more geometry to it, see if we get a different result. I'll remove that line from the center. Just get points, and we can add that all the way around. Yeah, the geometries you pick will greatly change the type of embossment you're getting. And somewhere there's a break somewhere within that. Reselect, and we'll add some more geometry. Let's just try adding all of this and see what we get. Sometimes when the embossments connect, they can act a little funny like they did there with this cut off there because it cuts across. Yeah, that really kind of messed it up. So let's remove that geometry. Yeah, that kind of got really weird. Reselect, and we'll just do a little small section at a time here. I picked the whole thing. Oh, I picked the line in the middle. I didn't want the line in the middle. Okay, so now we can add more of these embossed regulars, keeping the same parameters.
Can you just copy it, or it's not possible? You just need to redefine it?
Unfortunately, we can't just copy. That's actually one of the other trainers here was saying he wishes he could, because he's often having to do things like that where you add pretty much the exact same embossment over and over and over again, and there's really no other way besides adding more. There's no copy on these at all. I believe he's filled out a feature request for that specifically, so do another one. And you can even have these mixed. We can do one that's an arc. Kind of customize each one as a separate point. If you want, you can go in and change that. I don't really like the look of that one. and that allows us to go around that star, adding that. Now, and then we can go in, and if we wanted to add this, we can do a sweep down the center to add it to a radius, or we can just go in and modify our stock and add it to a wrap. And since this is a 4x4, we'll just do a 8-inch cylindrical wrap and see what we get. And let's go around the y-axis. So that centered that star right on that. Now, and you can control where it's going to go. So if we go back into the modify stock, I did switch to being around the y-axis. You can change where the origin is. So we can say that that's at 0, and that'll change where it is on the arc. Now, it'll center it like this, but that just changes where the position of it actually is around the embossment. And we can go in here and add more of that geometry. Reselect
the angle.
Yeah, I didn't set the angle on that one. Thank you.
No problem.
Verify that and then regenerate. Yeah, and that 45-degree angle gives us a really sharp little cusp there, flat little cusp there.
Flat top.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go in and even change that more. Let's say it's a 20-degree and change that on all of them. And that'll give us a little sharper point. I think there was a couple of them I didn't do. Generate. And that gives us all of them as one size. Now, and again, depending on the geometry you select, will greatly change the way it comes out. I mean, we can go in and get rid of a lot of these center lines. If we, let's see here, if we did like an arc between these, you can do a circle between 2 points and pick an end here, an end there, and that gets us a circle right in the center. We can take that circle and break everything along those lines, allowing us to change our geometry quite a bit. Let's just do a quick trim. We can trim all this stuff out of there. And we don't even need these center lines. Those aren't helping. So now we can change the whole embossment, and let's suppress all of these. Remove, and then select. changing the star to something completely different, all in one step. Then you can even go in and do like another arc right in the center of that. So let's add another, snap a 1-inch radius. That is a 1-inch radius on there, so let's make it 1/2 inch. Right to the center. We can add a sweep to that, or a 2-rail sweep to the inside of that. So let's add a 2-rail sweep, and we'll leave it on default right now and see what we get. But then we can go in and add a geometry. Let's just add a spline here. Verify that. And that gives us like a little geometry on the inside of that. Then we can continue further. You can even add a pattern to the inside of this. So if we go to Emboss Model, we can do a little emboss texture. And let's do a weave. So you can change the weave size. You can change the whole, pretty much the whole entire make of the weave. And we'll do convex ellipse just to make it a little smaller. Hit OK. Select our boundary geometry as the internal. And regenerate. And that gives us a little pattern on the inside. Now we can go in here and change this texture a little bit.
Can we have the texture from an outside file or something like that?
Like an outside source of a texture? Or?
Yeah, if you need something like the wood grains or...
Yeah, absolutely. If we go back up to the textures, you can bring them in from an image, or if you have a surface already, you can bring that in. From the image, like this is the weave. We have primitives here too, so we can do like spheres, ellipse, cone, pyramids. I personally like the ellipse. You can randomize the size and change the variation. So we're going to say in X, we'll give it a variation of 80%. In Y, we'll give it a variation in 40%. And Z, we'll give it a variation of 20%. And we can randomize the location, too, and change the density. So let's reduce the density down just a little bit. We'll reduce it down to 40. Click OK. Now let's go ahead and suppress this one. And these are just the primitives. You can bring it in from an image or anything like that. So I just don't have anything to utilize that. And we'll go ahead and pick our boundary. Oops. And we'll generate. And that gives us a different type of shape on the inside, with the values that we had set. Now the height is a little high for that outside, so we can change the Z height down to 50 thou or so. Change that a little bit. That's not great, but and we can also go in here and add a smoothing to that. So it's not really smooth going around the outside of these. So you can go up to Emboss Model and add a smoothing. Smooth whole model. And we'll just pick our geometry to smooth from. So we'll pick the outside circle. And regenerate. And that smooths that out a little bit. We can go into the texture and edit that one a little. Change in some of these. Change that height to 80. So So it brings it up a little bit. You can always play around with the numbers on those. But you can go really, really deep into your geometries to really kind of get something unique out of it. Adding all these different features to them. You can even go in and sculpt. Sculpting is a little different. It puts it flat. And let's sculpt with 1/8. And we can hit smooth. We can add material. We can remove material. So if we smooth, we can go in here and just smooth out sections. So if there's one particular section that's not smoothing very well, you can go in and smooth in between those. You can change the diameter of that so you have a larger work area to work for. And you just hold down the mouse button and click through to smooth that out. If you need to remove material from an area, you can go through and remove some. So if, let's say, we wanted to remove a little material around here, just on the outside. Kind of looks ugly right now, but we'll try smoothing this out. And we can go through and kind of clean that up with the smoothing. Kind of gives you a little more flexibility over what you're doing. Now that, I can smooth over the texture to get rid of it, but we don't want to do that. We can also deposit material. So if there's areas that you took too much out, you can always come in here and add a little bit. So if you wanted to merge those a little bit together, you can go in and add a little material and then smooth that out. Smooth that out. Really kind of gives you a lot more control over what you're doing. And then it brings it back up to your little plane where you had it. It's a little hard to see with the light source, but we can change the color, make it a little bit easier. I always think that color's a little hard to see. Let's try that one. Makes it a little bit easier to see the contrast between the two. Did you guys have any questions already or anything?
No, we are good. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I know we've spent almost an hour going through this stuff. Now, we can do the full 2 hours if you guys like. Or we can always save the extra, the other hour for a later time. It's up to you guys, depending on what you want to do. Let's see here. What was? Okay, yeah. Right now you have 10 remaining. That would leave you with 9 remaining hours. It's up to you if you want to use the full 2 hours or not. We generally don't spend a whole lot of time with stuff on BobART. I know I didn't. I covered, pretty much all of the basic introductory stuff the other day in about an hour. So I did half of the course for you guys in an hour. But it's up to you guys if you want to stick to doing more of it for another hour or not.
If we are going to see something new, so we can keep going. Okay.
There's really not a whole lot more new. There's, I can show you. There's, let's see. Let's see if I can find this picture. Now, if we. Turn off the wrap for a second. Now we can go in and hit this remove non-embossed area, and that'll just emboss. That'll just leave your emboss, so you don't have to look at the whole stock the whole time. That's one thing I didn't really kind of cover there. Delete that sculpting. Delete this smoothing. Regenerate this. Get rid of all that garbage. Now the primitives, we have a couple of different types, like I was saying, and we'll do fine and do 50%. And the height on that is a little bit high. Oops, yeah, that's why. Still really high. But yeah, the primitives you can change those on each one of these. You can just go in and edit and change the type. If it's a cone or a pyramid or anything like that, it'll change your model. Now the cone is a little hard to see in this type because it's really dense. So let's go ahead and reduce the density. And they're just little cones everywhere. So you can add textures with, the primitives, but you can also import an image if you go up to the emboss texture, bring it from an image.
Okay, so what I would suggest is to go ahead. What were you saying?
No, that's go ahead. I was just saying I don't have an image to load for a texture.
Okay, so I believe we have a lot to try here for the things that we learned for the previous day and today.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just try to work on that. And actually, if you can give me the control, I'll show you one of the drawings that I'm trying to work on, and we can arrange for sessions later on, and we can prepare for it. We can book it, and let's stop right here.
I changed to your screen now, so I can see.
Here's the thing that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually kind of a bird that I got from hand drawing that I found on the internet. This one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to make some kind of improvement and create something on that. So we can take this as an exercise. We'll do it as a homework, and then we can arrange for an exhibition later on.
Yeah. Now, what were you having any issues with this one, or what were?
Actually, I was having some problems in changing the points, because the selection of the point itself, whenever I'm trying to move it. So if we just take this out. So if I'm trying to move this point, I need to click on a certain corner of the point itself. So maybe because I'm using a very high resolution for the screen, so the point itself it's very tiny, so I cannot really see where should I be clicking. But it's giving me a hard time to find the place to move it and change the location and change the shape.
Oh, okay. With that's kind of a weird. I mean, with the tracing, like I was showing you, just pretty much the deformed and drag corner. But yeah, if you're on a really high resolution, it might be a little hard. Now that's. Were you modifying this geometry?
Yeah, actually, I was trying to make an eye. If you look into the original, just to enable the original graph, it's a kind of artificial thing for the eye. However, to do it and cut it on wood, it needs to be a real eye. So I need to change it and get the real shape of the eye.
Oh, okay.
So I was trying to change it.
Just get like a whole arc down here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's undo what I just did there so it doesn't. Okay. Because it's a spline, let's go ahead and explode that. You may find it's easier to work with this as arts.
Mm-hmm.
And once we do that, if we go up to utilities and like deform, oh wow, there we are. The deform, you can grab each section, but we can start by grabbing corners of these, because now there's actually corners to grab.
Yeah.
Between, and it'll allow you to pull this down, and then we can deform the rest of it.
Yeah, but this will not give it the smoothness that you need in the curvature itself, right?
It will, but we have to do a deform on here, so we can move the center points of these. Yeah, the connections between the entities. So I'm going to drag this down a little bit. Ooh.
This keep happening with me most of the time. It's just running by itself.
Yeah, that just kind of, there we go. But now that we have at least some of this moved down, we can go to utilities and deform. And now we can grab these sections that we stretched and give it that a little more organic arc to it.
Okay.
And that'll clean it up a little bit. Now, obviously, you want to get the points, where they're nice and round with each other.
Yeah.
But some of these points you'll have to drag a little bit more. But that's how you can get that nice organic shape, with the tracing and the getting these. Whoop. Okay, good. Getting it where it forms a nice little curve for you there. So you really just the drag corner and deform, and once you have that spline, you break it up into arcs, and you're pretty much good. There's not a whole lot more to go with it.
It's getting crazy.
Yeah, that just jumps all over the place there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Why is that still there? Cancel, undo. There we go. Drag corner. Drag that down. Drag some of these down. Now, if you want to kind of parallel with the one you already have there, we can kind of bring it tight here.
That one is not correct, actually.
You want to have it.
I was.
Around.
Yeah, for the outside of the eye itself.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just getting one point that looks good and then going around following that and then going in and deforming and making it nice and smooth. So we can take that, let's take this corner and bring it down a little bit. Bring this one out. So now that we have that, that's a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. We can go to utilities and form. And now we can start going through here and kind of cleaning up, making this radius nice and fluid. Some of these corners are still a little sharp. And the trick is that, getting these points kind of in a line together and then deforming it where it matches all the way kind of across. So sometimes it does take a little while playing with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you have the basics of it. It's there. You have your lines that work. And one thing that may help you too is adding some layers. I see you have some layers here now. Let's see what's on each one.
Just minimize the picture, change the scale to see the different layers.
Okay, I see. So you have the like the original vectorization on one layer.
I have
layers, and your CAD is you're going over it, cleaning it up, or?
Yes, yeah. I'm just trying to get each piece by itself, just to be able to clean it up, because for imposement I need things to be under each other to give it the real picture when it's getting higher.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to do. So if I just got all of them at the same time under each other, it's not gonna be obvious if they are, and it's getting snapping. Yeah, it's snapping all the time. So whenever I'm dragging the line across the other line, it's a snap to the other line. So I'm turning it off to be able to change the size.
Yeah, really the trick to get, because this is a spline, and now this is all arcs that I made. No, modifying the spline like you were doing can work. You can go in there and try to move those data points around a little bit. But sometimes that can be a little funky. I find that using exploding it to an arc, because you want to make sure you select arcs here. If you don't, it'll do lines, and you don't want lines for that. You don't want anything to be in line segments. You have too many organic shapes to do that. So you would explode to arcs, and then you'd pick your spline that you want to explode, and right-click and hit OK. And now you have little arc segments that you can work on individually and kind of blend them together instead of having one spline that is constantly changing throughout the whole thing. You make one data point move, and then everything else starts moving along with it, where the drag and deform now give you a little bit more control, at least in my experience, my feeling on it.
Okay, all right. So we'll keep working on this, and we'll arrange for another session later on to review it and see what did we reach, and if this is possible, that will be great.
Yeah, and if you have any parts like this that you're working on when you get to the point where you want to schedule some more, we can even go over specifics. Like we could spend, an hour or two on a part that you have, cleaning it up and methods of cleaning it up, and because this is a lot more detailed, a lot more cleanup than the Energizer Bunny that I had the other day. So this is a really good kind of example of something that you guys are already working on. You're doing, and get, in my experience, you get a little bit more out of something that you're already working on. Seeing methods around that, and that, because I could show you all day how to use, some of the stuff in the software, but without application to what you're doing, sometimes it falls short. So. When you do schedule another training, if you have any parts that you guys are working on, send them on over. And we'll perfect. All right? Okay,
that's great.
I'll get this recording over to you guys here probably later today, maybe tomorrow morning. And I sent you the link to the other one, correct?
Yes, I didn't download it yet, so I'm going to download both of them whenever I get the second connection, or the second link.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got you the first one. I couldn't remember if I had it or not.
You did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You did.
Good. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
No problem. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.